I'd like to call the meeting of the Development Review Board to order, July 5th, 2016. Dan?
Okay. First item on our agenda is the minutes from our last meeting, So if everyone is satisfied with those minutes, a motion to approve those minutes would be in order.
Any changes?
Well, we approve.
A second. All in favor?
Second item on our agenda today is the witness oath statement that we ask everyone to sign in today if they're going to be speaking to the board. And that sign-in sheet includes the following oath statement. It says, I solemnly swear or affirm, under the pains and penalty of perjury, that the statements I make, testimony I give, and other evidence I submit to the board at the board's public hearing held on this date shall be true and correct to the best of my knowledge and authority. And again, we ask you to sign in before you speak to the board this evening. Next item on our agenda is the disclosure of any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding the matters before the board this evening.
Anybody have any conflicts? Nope.
Okay. All right, on to our first hearing. It's Knapp's on Main Street, 415 Main Street. The operator of that store is seeking design approval for a facade change to that property. This application was reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. You all have in your packet their comments regarding this proposed change. Normally, this would be reviewed by the application review panel before it came to the DRB, but as July 4th fell on the typical day that we meet, rather than delay the process, I made the decision that we would bring the folks in from Knapp's to make the presentation. The board can decide to either make a decision tonight or continue it to the next meeting if you think two meetings are necessary. So that'll be up to you folks after you hear the information today. Looks like Duffy Outwire is here tonight to present the application.
Sign in here?
Yes, please sign in there, and then you can speak from the podium if you'd like.
And read the highlighted portion?
You don't have to read anything. You can just present your application to the board.
All right. Hope I got one of these. I think I do. That is a current picture of the store. You might have to pass those around. Is that a current? Yep, that's a current. And this is as close as I could do, the best I could with like Photoshop and clipping things. But this is the picture of what the overhead door would look like recessed into the same level as the existing entry door. You have similar pictures?
Yeah, we got. Right, we got. Yeah, the color's good. It's helpful.
Color's good.
Helpful for the board.
I think that does it. I think these are just extras if you guys are good. This was an original that should have never made it to anyone because we redid the design the day after I submitted this, and it just never got taken off.
Cool.
Okay? So we're just looking to, it's not a big revision on the facade. We're looking, the rest of the facade stays the same. We don't want to change that. We just want to replace the window with the overhead door. And luck has it, we're within inches of the overhead door fitting the window perfectly.
Any questions?
And Duffy, why
Why do you want to do this? Just out of
To invite
curiosity.
people in. We had a band there last Friday night, and it was very hard to get anybody to come in. During the course of their show, it was a slow night down there last Friday because of the weather, but there was probably at least 30 people that walked by and stood outside. My games where I earn my money is inside, and if I restrict that barrier, I really believe more people will come in.
Okay, thank you.
Positive.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Bill?
Is this going to be year-round?
No, at least not right now. That side of the store is not insulated in any way. And as far as, we're trying to get things going, but I make 25 cents a play on the arcade games. It's not enough to spend thousands of dollars to insulate the store. So what we're hoping to do is generate more traffic by inviting people in to actually come into the other side of the store and hopefully realize that we're here and then get more business that way in the other side of the store. We find that if it's early spring and it's kind of chilly outside and we can't open our front doors, people walk by. When we have one front door open, we seem to get more people in. When we have both front doors open, we get a lot more foot traffic in and out of our store. I guess it's the same principle as a mall when all the stores open up and you're walking through and you can just go directly into stores.
So there's no heat in there and there won't be
No
in the
heat in
present?
there won't be, unless we do better.
Yeah, but I
And we
just
can
now.
expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're hoping, we're giving it a shot, we're trying, if we could do this year round, it would be wonderful.
Henry?
What's the width of this door?
6 foot, 3/4 inch right there.
Oh, you said that was out, I don't know.
Approximately 7.5 feet.
7.5.
It should be detailed there.
Are the measurements are not correct or are they not?
No, the measurements are
They
correct.
are correct.
Okay, 6
Yes.
foot 3/4.
I think three
Oh,
quarters.
7 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly fits within that opening by, it couldn't be made any better.
What was
Fit right
your,
in.
what was your reasoning for choosing a solid wall versus a glass wall
Well,
or doors?
yeah, one is price, the expense, because this is not a year-round thing. And like I say, I make a quarter a play on the machines. We're hoping to do better down the road. The other is the artistic value of that. It doesn't look like a Jiffy Lube door. It doesn't look like a Midas muffler door. It doesn't look like a garage door. It looks more eclectic, more avant-garde, more artistic. And I did hear at one point that's the way we're trying to go downtown, to try to become more of an artistic community. And I tried to blend it with the stainless steel screws that match the door trim and the window trim, try to give it a little bit of panache without spending a ton of money. That all could be painted over. I could put glass in it, I could route it out and put glass in it. It's just, I probably won't put the door in if that's a stipulation. I can't say I will or I won't now, but it's just the fact of the money. Comes down to that.
Bill?
So it's going to be this black door, not the garage door that you're going to install, correct?
That should have never been given to anyone.
Okay. We got one with measurements and one at the garage door. We have these two.
This is the proper one here, right?
Yes, that's the proper one. These are the ones with the measurements. I submitted it, and the very next day, I sent a different picture to Mike, but he happened to have already forwarded this on to the historic board, then which forwarded it on to you.
Okay, so that's it.
So that's it, and it's not black, it's purple to match our store.
Okay.
Yep, and you see the stainless steel screws, how it matches all of the trim, it ties the sign together, ties the, and it doesn't look like I say, like a Jiffy Lube or something like that.
Oh,
That's a lot different than this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference.
It's When you saw, I had it in the store all put together at one time, everybody in and out loved it. They thought it was really cool.
Any other questions? Jeffrey, I have a question. In other words, this drawing, we're not to use. We're not to use this because it's backwards. It's not drawn properly.
That is not, oh, I see, yes.
See, the door should be on this side.
Yes, in this one that I'm submitting to you, it is not.
Yeah. Well, we have
That's
it here.
correct. That was the one that I completely changed the day after, yep. And it just never, Mike was so efficient that it got pushed out right away.
Have you thought about putting double doors in there instead of this garage door back here?
The double door would wind up being, at least one side of it would wind up being an obstruction inside the room. Plus,
No, I mean, have them open outside. Do these open outside?
these open outside, but that's concave to where even if these are open full, they fall flat up against the wall. There's a 3-foot indent here and I can't do it. And I can't in-swing them because inside the room, it tapers down to the sidewalk, so I can't in-swing them.
Anything else? Anyone from the audience like to speak on this? I think we maybe should go into deliberative session on this and discuss it.
I'll make that motion that we go to deliberative session.
Mary moves deliberative session. Charles seconds.
Oh,
You need to speak on it?
no?
Okay. All in favor?
So definitely, they'll talk about it after the meeting, and I'll get back to you, give me a shout in the morning.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, our next and final hearing this evening is Bennington Coalition for the Homeless on 966 Main Street. They're seeking approval for a shelter home in that location. And I know that Chris Oldham is here this evening to speak on behalf of the coalition regarding their plans for that property.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking the time to discuss this with us. We're pretty excited about this project. To give you a little bit of background, the Bennington Coalition for the Homeless has been in operation for about 16 years now. And it is our job and our mission to give the tools and the building blocks necessary to help lift homeless individuals and families, give them the opportunity to get back on their feet. And we have many ways that we do that. And since I took this role as a director a little over a year ago, we have made a lot of changes. It's no secret that the homeless population in Bennington County is on the rise, and it is becoming a major issue. So we have sort of decided that in order for us to continue what we do and move forward with the goals that we set in motion 16 years ago, we have to sort of change how we do business. The program that we're proposing for 966 Main Street, we're looking at more as a short-term transitional supportive housing program. We are trying to move away from that word shelter because it does come with a lot of stigmas, and I want to make sure that the public, the neighbors, and you are all aware that the program in place is a supervised program that is supervised 24 hours a day. We have enrichment activities and programs for our residents, and we also mandate case management and program participation in order to stay at our facilities. There are, in our estimated count, about 400 homeless individuals in Bennington County. If you look on the housing, to end homelessness Vermont, and I forgot what the website is, but it is a state website. It does kind of show that the Bennington County has about 40, 50 homeless individuals. Well, I can tell you for a fact that that's inaccurate. We have several folks that are living in motels who are couch surfing from one place to the next, whether it's a family member or a friend. We have people sleeping in cars and under bridges, in our camps. And we are working closely with the state to come up with an alternative to the motel voucher program. It's also no secret that when the shelter is full, which is 99% of the time, a lot of folks enter the motel system, which is not a viable system for the state taxpayers or the individuals themselves. While they're in a motel, they're not getting the case management and the support and the life skills education that they need to sustain permanent and maintain permanent housing. Our program does that. So we are looking to expand our facility. Currently, we're located at, this particular program is located at 250 North Street in Bennington, which is a village commercial. And there are a lot of issues with that property. It is not up to code. It has insufficient dignified space for the folks that we serve. And we are not in a position to purchase and renovate that. We did look into that because the last thing that we want to do is up and leave what we already have established. But when we did the feasibility study on that property, we realized that acquisition and renovation to get it where we need to be and increase capacity would cost us about $430,000. For a very small nonprofit, that is almost impossible for us to maintain. So we started looking for another property, one that offered classroom space for our job readiness programs, which is a fantastic program that helps folks build resumes. We create a Dress to Success program. We do mock interviews, and we do other life skills, budgeting, credit counseling, cooking outside the box, for instance, and other enrichment activities like gardening and art. So the new facility that we're looking at, 966 Main, offers plenty of space for office, case management offices, reception, classrooms, and we think enough space to double our capacity. Thus, helping more people and pulling the need for motel vouchers away. Our goal is to work with the state and other agencies to move away completely from the motel voucher system. Just to give you a little background on that real quick, the state spent about $3 million, or $4 million on motel vouchers, and they budgeted $2 million. I think we can all agree that that is not the way we should be handling our homeless problem. So this 966 Main Street allows us, hopefully at the end of this, to double our capacity, increase our space for programming, and give the folks that we serve a more dignified place to get the help that they need. I gave you a list or a site plan, but I'll give you another one that has the graphic scale. And if there's anyone in the audience that would like one of these, we do have them. So we're not planning on doing anything to the exterior other than a few minor items. We're not looking to put a sign. In fact, by driving past the building, once we're in complete operation, you will never even know that it's a supportive housing program. It will look exactly the way it does now, with the exception of some shrubbery some extra raised gardens, and we are sensitive to the neighbors in the neighborhood, and I feel that a 6-foot wall similar to what the neighbors currently have between the two properties in the back here. There is a nice 8-foot, 6 or an 8-foot fence, privacy fence that will run along the stream to give them privacy and also the residents that we serve. And then you'll see that we're going to be adding 2 raised beds. That's for our gardening program. And we would like to just spruce up the area with some shrubbery in the front and between Mr. Loray's property on the other side. And that concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain.
Any questions?
How many people, Chris, you expect to have maximum number of people in there?
Well, I think that is going to determine, my goal is to get us up to between 17 and 20. And that really depends on Larry McLeod. Once this is all said and done, he'll kind of give us a list of things that need to get done inside ADA requirements and that sort of thing. So our goal is between 17 and 20 individuals, but I can't confirm that yet.
Yeah, okay, and for the place you have now, what is your max there? This is gonna be larger, it's gonna accommodate more people apparently, right?
Yeah, right now we can hold up to 6.
6?
Yeah.
Oh, big jump, good.
And, you know, I am very transparent with anyone who I speak to about this, and we do push that limit a little bit. On the 3rd day of the job, I did have a meeting with Larry McLeod and Kevin Goodhue, and I said, look, we can't run the shelter the way it is. We need to do something different, and we need to do something before the snow flies this year because we can't continue to turn people away. So we're looking at a maximum capacity of 6 right now. We're looking to get between 17 and 20.
Thank you.
Yep.
Harry?
I just want to clarify the number of beds that will be available. Is that the same as the number of persons you're talking about? How many beds are available?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
You're talking about
The
17
Capacity
beds.
would be 17 beds, or up to 20 beds, yeah. Well, and plus staff, but it would be 17 to 20 overnight individuals. I would like to point out that at least 2 people will be on the premises as a staff member 24 hours a day, with the exception of the evening shift, which will have 1. And a lot of that will have to do with the sprinkler system that we have to put in.
Do these people that occupy the beds, is there a certain time limit or is it indefinite?
Our goal is to let them stay up to 3 months. And that's why we call it a transitional supportive housing program rather than a homeless shelter, because a lot of times the homeless shelter is an overnight emergency deal. We do offer that, but there is no line to get in. It is referral basis, and it usually takes about 3 months to get someone from nothing to a place of their own. And we do have requirements in place for that. So if they are compliant to the rules and if they're following the program that the case manager puts forward, then they can extend that a little longer. But the goal is to keep it between 1 and 3 months.
My last question is, the other property, the existing property, is that going to be given up or are you going to maintain that one also?
No, we will be moving out of that completely.
Any other questions? I have a few, Chris. It's on the site plan. You've got 2 existing driveways here that are gravel. The bylaw says that if they go to a main road, they have to be paved back 20 feet from the property line. You planning to pave either one of those? I know the little one on Main Street is pretty well grassed over. I went drive and it's mostly grass now. You're going to let that go or you're going to use that driveway?
No, actually, we would need that space. You want the one spot on the left, is that the one you're talking about?
Pardon?
The one spot on the left of the house?
Yes.
Yeah, we will be using that one spot for staff.
Okay.
And then the other driveway we'll use as well. I mean, if the requirement is to pave, a portion of that, then absolutely, that's what we'll do.
Because you'll be using the larger parking lot that's on Cross Street also?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
The little building in the front says existing building business. Is it going to be a business in there, or are you going to use that?
Well, it used to be a barber shop, and it is attached to the house. But we will be using it for a reception area, so yeah, we will be using it for that purpose.
The last thing is, the setbacks have to be measured from the edge of the driveway, not the street. So if you could just have them correct that. It's from the property line, not
Not the street line.
from the street line. It's not going to change anything, but just to get your drawing correct.
Yep. To the edge of the street?
No, from the edge of the driveway.
Driveway.
It's just on your property. The only two that are above, the one on Cross Street and Main Street, the other two are correct, because there's no street there. Any other questions? What would the board like to do? Oh, I'm sorry. We don't usually have anybody here. Anybody like to speak from the audience? Guess not.
No, I think
Oh, okay. You have to come up and sign in, please.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Can you state your name,
My name
please?
is Jennifer Kreinen.
Okay.
My husband and I own the property facing the proposed transitional housing. My understanding was that we were going to receive written notification from the town for this meeting. We received written notification from Chris on several occasions, but we didn't receive any from the town, so I'm a little...
That's what the role is, that you get written notification from the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the rule.
So that clarifies that. My understanding as far as the zoning laws go is that a shelter or transitional housing would be allowed if the use does not significantly change the character of the neighborhood. And I can't tell you exactly what page that was on, but I did read through the zoning laws. And in that regard, I guess that I'd like to request some verifiable data to that effect, that this proposed use would not significantly increase crime. I think our main concern is safety with the population that would be served. And that really is our main concern, is safety.
What do you say on that, Dan?
Well, Jennifer Kreinen is correct that that is a criteria, and Chris has testified, I'm sure he can testify on other issues too. There will be staff there, and I don't know what the history is on your other property. You could certainly address that, Chris, if you'd like.
We are extremely sensitive to the neighborhoods that we're in. In fact, since we've been in operation, we have been in, or are in, 3 other neighborhoods. We take safety not only for the neighbors under some serious authority, but also the safety for our clients and the safety for our staff. The building that 966 Main Street, like 250 North Street, is staffed 24 hours a day. We also have surveillance cameras on the property, which we'll continue to have on 966 Main Street, and that is for the purposes of making sure the place is properly supervised. We have a great relationship with the local police department. There are times, I can't stand here and tell you that there are not times that we have had to deal with a tough case where the police have gotten involved. In fact, we have relied on the police a few times to help us deviate some issues. So the only thing that I can tell you is that given our record in town and our concern, for the neighbors and the staff and the other residents, safety is top priority. So, I'm not quite sure, how else to address that other than the relationship with the police department is great. In fact, we have our staff members do wear a watch that has a call to me or to the police department. Should that happen, it hasn't been used. Knock on wood, but there is the possibility, just like there is the possibility that your neighbor who is not part of the Coalition for the Homeless, may pose similar issues. So, that is a tough one. The only thing I can tell you is that we take safety very seriously, and I think that we have a proven track record at this point that shows that. I hope I answered your question.
Chris,
Chris?
do you do check for outstanding warrants, those sorts of things?
We do, and we also, we in fact, we have caught some people on the run by doing those background checks. And we also check bags. Everyone who comes into the program has to have their possessions displayed in front of us. Any medication that they bring in has to be registered in their name. Weapons are not allowed. Drugs or alcohol or paraphernalia is not allowed. We have a zero policy for those types of behaviors, and we will sanction or immediately terminate anyone who breaks any of those rules. So, when someone does come in, there is an intake process that takes place that is pretty formal, and it does include background checks. We will not be serving sexual offenders, so I can assure the neighbors that we will not be introducing a group of sexual predators into the neighborhood. And that is mainly for the safety of our staff. That building will be used by children occasionally during the daytime when they come in for their programming and case management with their parents. That's kind of where we're at with that.
Mary?
What about alcohol tolerance?
Zero.
Zero.
Absolutely zero.
Jennifer, do you have any more questions?
You have my contact information, so if you need further information, you can let me know.
Gentleman in the back.
Somebody else like to speak? You have to come up and sign in, please.
My name is Brendan McKenna. Bear with me here. I got some allergies, so if my voice goes out, I apologize. We live right across the river. Where here it says the Kearns property. That's where my wife and I have lived for about 7 years now. And our concern is the same concern that the folks across the street from us at the bakery have, and that is, does this fit with the characteristic of the community? I look at Chris's other facilities, and I can understand his need to grow. But as I look at those other facilities, and I've talked to some of those folks that are his neighbors, asking their experience, and they've had some good experiences, but the majority of his neighbors are businesses. At the end of the day, people are locking the doors and going home. It's not a residential neighborhood. The one that's near bus, Fremont Express, that's got on all four sides businesses. And we do a little bit of the Norton Potters. And then again, with the one that's down by, across the street from Dunkin' Donuts. That one too is surrounded by businesses. So I'm not quite sure if it fits in with the characteristic of our community. That's one of my concerns. And again, the other one too being the safety. Chris made a good point that he does check bags, and he's been very, very, very open with us and just talking with us. But I think sometimes when my wife and I sit down at the end of the night, it only takes once. And there's a good example back in December of this past year, 2015, where a young lady at one of his facilities was found to have drugs on her and in her possession while she was staying at his facility. And they did the right thing and they kicked her out. And what she didn't turn is she turned right around and went to the neighbor's house and broke in and went into their medicine cabinet and got their drugs. And that's what's worrying to me. And you know, that happened at a facility that's mostly surrounded by businesses. For us, you know, it's mostly just residential. You know, I talked to Chris earlier, and I said that I'm assuming that the reason why you guys do that and not let people drink or do drugs there is because of liability issues and insurance issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Chris said yes, that was true. But once he kicks that person out, now it becomes my liability. Because where's that person going to go? At the end of town. Are the police going to come and escort them out? Because they obviously didn't come and escort them out at the last time. So I guess those are my two big concerns. And then lastly would be, I'm a little surprised at the number of beds. I was led to believe at the beginning it wouldn't be quite so many. Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought it was more or less going to be like a dozen beds or so, and now we're up to 20. So I guess that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
I'll let Chris respond. I'll let Chris respond, yeah.
Chris, why don't you respond to that first? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not entirely sure why the number was misconstrued, but the number has been pretty consistent from the time we started planning this. But you know, it is our concern as well. I mean, we have a curfew at night. We have a very structured program. The properties that he's speaking of, one on North Street, there are a lot of businesses, but there are also a lot of residents in that area. The one on McCall Street is a full residential area. And the one that we have on the corner of Pleasant and Park, we actually had 3 days of camp with children and parents from that neighborhood, where we had 20 individuals, or 20 households come and join us for some live music and outdoor movies and barbecue, free food. So when someone questions the Bennington, specifically Bennington Coalition for the Homeless's character in a neighborhood, I can tell you that one of the things that we strive for is to be good neighbors, and the activities that we've had since, I'd say, especially the last year and 3 months, show that we are, you know, striving to do just that. So.
You spoke of outdoor activities. Are you planning any outdoor activities at this location?
No, not at this point, but I'm not going to call it out. You know, if we do something, we would open it up the property for the neighbors to come in, similar to what we did on Pleasant Street, and try to integrate the neighbors with a barbecue or something along those lines. But they are few and far between. What you will see if you drive by are people using the garden facility boxes. You're not going to see people hanging on the porch smoking cigarettes or just being unproductive. One of the things that we try to do is maintain productivity with our clients, and if they're not productive, if they're not following the guidelines, then this is not the program for them. One of the things that we did recently, within the last year, was we mandated case management and program participation. And what that has done, for lack of better terms, is clean the pipes. We had a lot of folks that were coming through from out of town who were transients, and they had absolutely no desire to stay in the area. They were sort of looking for a place to eat or a place to sleep. And we're just not that kind of facility. We require them to do case management and participate in this program. When we made that a mandate, those who choose not to participate in case management and life skills, they'll leave. And that kind of opens up the doors to those individuals who want and need help. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been able to address some of the safety concerns, is because we're actually dealing with people that want the help.
Just to follow up on the outdoor activities, if you were to have something outside, like a movie or something, what would be the latest that activity would go to?
Well, we put it an 8:30 time at the family shelter. I mean, we're probably not going to do an outdoor movie or anything like that at this facility. We're dealing with adults primarily. The activities that took place last week at the Thatcher House is a family shelter. We have 8 households in that building. Those activities were primarily used for, primarily geared towards children. By the way, if any activity is planned for whatever reason, we do fully intend to make sure that the neighborhood is aware and invite them to participate. I did send out 95 letters to that neighborhood explaining what they can expect from us, so I hope that helps.
Ron?
Yeah, question for Dan. I did look up the bylaw, and that is a permitted use in that district, of
It is.
course. Question about the, how many people can live in that house. Is there anything in there? I didn't see it.
There is no limitation,
There's
obviously.
no limitation on a shelter.
It's limited based on the size of the structure. Chris had mentioned, you know,
That covers it.
they're going to have fire and life safety issues. Sprinkler will
Right.
address that, and, you know, that we have requirements about how many people can fit and how many square footage.
Yeah.
So it will be.
Hard to see the square footage, and that's not measured out on here.
I mean, that is one of the things that, you know, will decide our maximum capacity. My goal, obviously, has been and always will be 17 to 20 beds. If that shelter or that building allows for less because of the square footage, then we'll have to kind of adjust our planning for that. But given the need in the community and how many people we have to turn away, especially in the winter, the 17 to 20 has always been that number that we're trying to strive for.
Linda?
Someone in the back of the room also.
Yeah, I saw.
My name is Linda Bermudez, and although I'm not a butter, I am a neighbor of this proposed facility. I was slightly led astray on how many people would be at the facility. Even if it's 2 or 3 numbers, 17 to 20 people is a significant amount of foot traffic going in and out of what is a predominantly residential neighborhood. Some of the other concerns I have are, Mr. Oldham mentioned there would only be 1 overnight resident, staff person. That seems too few for 17 to 20 adults. Additionally, if you're going to have a mixed male-female ratio, I would think you would need at least 2. Also, you mentioned a curfew of approximately 8 o'clock. Is there going to be some kind of alarm system because if you have 1 resident and if they're busy with someone else, I wonder, how do you know if someone else doesn't sneak out? Another big concern of mine is just 6 buildings away is a motel that predominantly is accepting the overnight vouchers. So there's a lot of activity that's not desirable for the neighborhood there. So I'm concerned of, for lack of a better term, seems like it's clustering. Even though they're trying to move these people somewhere else and do better for them, there's already a lot of temptation and a lot of foot traffic and car traffic coming in and out of that location. So those things combined are some of my concerns.
some of those concerns I was able to address with Linda earlier this afternoon in a personal conversation. But one of the things that I will just mention is that when there is 10 individuals or less, we aren't really required to have a second individual, but you know, for instance, there are 7 or 6 individuals staying at the shelter this evening, so 1 trained staff member would be sufficient. In the event that more individuals use the facility, then we will have to adjust our staffing to make sure that enough staff will be there. In fact, we will be hiring a supervisor and a full-time supervisor and case manager on that property. That'll be a new position. We've also, we're in the process of hiring some support staff and some weekend staff along with some evening staff. So I would say that we will be supporting an additional 3.5 positions to support those individuals that we are working with.
Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Kaya Morris. I am a state representative representing Bennington 2-2, which is actually within the district of where this property is proposed. I'm also the director for the Alliance for Community Transformations, and we are doing quite a bit of work with many different community partners on both revitalizing and strengthening our community in this area. I'm coming today to speak in support of this process. I think one of the things that people may not realize is this was not a fly-by-night decision nor kind of a seat-of-the-pants opportunity, that the Coalition for the Homeless worked very closely with the state and state partners, including the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, which deals with a number of different projects and has a really strong fidelity checklist before projects like these can even be considered. And they used that advisement. So while they were not necessarily initially looking for funding through that source, they used their expertise in having done this throughout the state to great success with little to no incidences and actually really strong, solid outcomes. So the state has made a major investment in saying these are the exact types of projects that we need to have, not just projects where we're just placing people, but ones where they are actually given the tools and the skills they need to be able to move forward. So when he says that there's case management available, that requires multiple community partners that are actually helping to do that case management. So they're working very closely with your mental health providers, your substance abuse professionals, your law enforcement, your DCF, all the different places that are here to help support our community safety nets. They are a part of this actual project itself. So these individuals aren't just sort of dropped and said, did you come to this group, this AA group? It's not just that, it's much deeper than that. And communities that have done this and embraced this and have been willing to say, we need to change also how we speak about individuals who are struggling with homelessness, that they are not lepers, that they are not outcasts, and nor painting them with the brush that they're all criminals, thugs, or drug addicts. That's how we change things. These are individuals that are in difficult situations. And I know everyone here, business owners to property owners to town employees, know how many people in this community are struggling, how many houses went to that tax sale, how many people are on the verge of foreclosure, how many people are very precariously positioned right now in this community. So this is an important dialogue, and it's not going to be easy, but I do believe and have confidence that we will be able to make this happen for the betterment of our community in a way that satisfies everyone. So thank you for being a part of it. Keep asking the tough questions, but keep in mind that whatever we're perceiving is the state and face of homelessness, and a risk of homelessness is not actually what's happening here on the ground in Bennington. So We're all here to support, we're all here to work together, and definitely, I'm more than happy to speak to anyone as well about a number of the different substance abuse programs that are happening for individuals who are not homeless, because it's a huge problem here, and the crime rates that are happening for those individuals who are not homeless. So this is something we have to do an all-in on our community on. So thank you for listening, and thank you for proposing this, and thank you for speaking. So.
It's always nice to have somebody in your corner, and I do appreciate that. But one of the things I just also wanted to quickly touch on is the fact that we are working very closely with state and local agencies to help facilitate new beginnings for the folks that we work with. We have successfully housed nearly 400 individuals, about 200 households who remain successful and still require our support. But we do have a great track record in this community, especially within the last 16 months. And just to kind of bring up your point a little bit with the motel that's in that vicinity, one of the things that the state and agencies like the coalition are trying to do is reduce the dependency of motel rooms as a source to combat homelessness. It does not work. Organizations like the coalition works. The motel system does not work, and it's extremely expensive. I would love to see that motel that we're talking about actually house tourists, and I think that those programs that we're working on and other programs that we're in collaboration with will eventually, within the next couple of years, will say to those motel owners that this is not a source of income for you. This is the taxpayers' money, and we need to find a better way to support our homeless people, and it's not through the motels.
Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, I'm from the Vermont Center for Independent Living, which is a disability rights and advocacy organization, and I'm here also in support of this project. Currently, and Chris can speak in more detail than I can about this, but...
Can we have your name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Lynn Mazza, Bennington resident. Yeah, Chris can speak in more detail about it, but currently the shelters are not accessible to people with physical disabilities. In the plans for the new shelter, there are plans to make it physically accessible. I mean, if you can imagine yourself being homeless for a minute, and then add on the complication of being homeless with a physical disability, where, you know, the old joke is, oh, sleep under the bridge. Well, if you can't get under the bridge, it's that much tougher. So when Chris brought these plans forward and was talking about his specific details for how they would make it physically accessible, how they would build the bathrooms, there was a lot of relief among the folks in the disability community. So I just wanted to kind of speak up in support of that.
Just to react to that, this is one of the reasons why we are looking to move our current location, because when an elderly person, and I will tell you that every one of the residents at the shelter right now are 55 and older, unfortunately, and there are two that suffer from physical disabilities that keep them from doing stairs. So they are not staying in an environment that does anything to their personal dignity. In fact, they're sleeping on a cot in a dining room, and that is one of the motivations behind finding a new location that fits for all of the clients that we serve.
Yeah, Chris, is it going to be ADA in compliance with handicap entrance and bathroom and so forth.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if for the next meeting, it does take 2 meetings, I'd like to see the square footage on the plan, and also note where your handicap access is going to be.
Well, it'll most likely be the front.
Yeah, should be on there really, just for the record, you know?
Yep. So you want the handicap access? and
Yeah,
square
please.
footage?
And the square footage of the building where they're going to be living.
I can certainly have
Thank you.
Anyone else? Chris, most of these residents, do they have cars?
that. Not typically, no.
'Cause I remember the one on North Street had quite a bit of parking behind the building, so I was just wondering if you're gonna have enough parking.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants parking,
Yeah.
and we probably have more than enough parking,
Okay.
unfortunately, yeah, but, in this circumstance, the parking on the left will be used for, a staff member and, you know, actually, that's who's probably gonna use it, I don't know, I mean, we'll run into a few, residents that do have vehicles. And I am not going to allow any of our drop-ins or staff members or clients use the 3 spots that the town allotted in front of the bakery. I know that those were put in when I was on the select board for the purpose of the bakery, and I intend to keep it that way.
Anyone else like to speak?
Thank you for taking me. My name is Hans Kreinen, and I'm the owner of the bakery right across from the property. We had to fight 3 years ago for 3 parking spaces. That's going to be my big concern, because if I lose those 3 parking spaces on cars for those people who are living in the shelter, then I do not have any business. That's for sure. Because as soon as we had these 3 parking spaces, our sales went up at least 30%. So that is my big concern. I would like to say then that, you know, parking a limit of 20 minutes or something like that would be appropriate for those parking spaces, that we can have our customers parking in those spaces. And that's my only concern. Thank you.
That's actually good timing, because I did want to make the point this evening that those 3, we wouldn't even be asking for a 20-minute limit. We just won't use them. And in fact, I'm sure we'll have a little extra parking, and if the bakery needs to use some of the parking across the street, we'd be more than happy to offer them up.
Anyone else like to speak? What would the board like to do?
Given, may I make a suggestion, given that there were some concerns raised, it may make sense for us to, since we already have a deliberative session tonight, have a deliberative session so that we can articulate any additional concerns that we'd like Chris to address at the next meeting. So I would suggest a deliberative session for this application as well.
Barry?
I'll move that we close this hearing and move to deliberative session.
Okay. Second, Bill seconds, Barry moves.
Before you close it, can I?
Yes.
I just want to clarify that what you're looking for me, from me, is the setback adjustment that Charlie had mentioned, the square footage on the building, and the handicap accessible entrance drawn in.
Right,
Those are
and the
3.
paving of the parking lots.
And the what?
Paving of the
The
parking
paving of the
lots, yeah.
parking Great.
There may be more, but Dan will let you know.
But we'll talk
Do you
tomorrow.
know how to get it? Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All in favor of deliberative session? Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, everybody. Next item on our agenda, and I'm not sure if you folks want to do this evening, but I did put it on the agenda just in case, would be the annual election of officers. We are missing one board member tonight, so it's really up to you folks if you want to proceed with that. We could carry it on.
I think
to the
we
next-
should. I've had a good ride so far, so I don't think we should change horses. I would nominate Charlie and Barry for the chair and vice chair.
I'll second it. So we have a second from
I'll second.
Charlie, of course.
How do you spell horses? H-O-R-S-T or H-O-R-S-E?
Well, I'm going to ask the same question I always ask, if you want to do it.
No, you don't ask.
Well,
It's better to apologize later than ask permission before.
It's not a problem. How about you, Charles?
What
Do you have a problem?
No, I think we can do it again.
you're a glutton for punishment.
I know.
So is that unanimous in favor of
All
that?
in favor? Should we vote?
Unanimous.
I'm voting for Barry, Barry's voting for me.
Okay, the T.
I'm voting for me.
Any other business, Dan?
No other business for me. We can move to our deliberative session if you folks, if we close the meeting.
I make a motion
Move
to
to
close.
adjourn? Okay.
I'll second.
Adjourn, yeah.
Bill moves, Barry
Barry
seconds.
second.
All in favor?
That's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.